Hi everyone, I'm Shauna. Welcome to the channel. Today's video is so fun. And it's fun because today's video is a collaboration with Lara from Lara Likes Mascara, my YouTube bestie. We love her on this channel. We stan Lara on this channel. Lara's video is gonna be in the description box below, and her channel is gonna be there too. So you can go and click on that link and go watch hers, because I know she has amazing things to say. Lara is the no-buy queen. Lara is the kind of person that if you're on a no-buy or a low-buy, she's the exact right channel for you to be in, especially if you're on a makeup no-buy. She's all about using what you have, being a conscious consumer, and like she really leans into using what she has first before buying. And she has just so many great informative videos, and she recently did a video on makeup recycling. If you've been here before and you've never went to her channel, now's your sign to go do that. Also, today, the day that this video is coming out, it's Lara's birthday. Happy birthday, Lara. Lara is such a kind and amazing person. She's somebody who I just like, if I could give her all the happiness in the world, I totally would. So I hope that she has an amazing day, and I hope you all will join me in wishing her a little happy birthday on her channel. Now, I spent all this time hyping up Lara, and she deserves it, but let's talk about what the video is about. Today, we're gonna be talking about being bored on a low buy or a no buy. You know, what do you do if that's you? Like if you're bored on a no buy? And I have two parts in this video because I'm approaching this topic in two different ways. Because I think a lot of people could fall in one camp or the other. I mean, you could be a blend of both, and some of the suggestions definitely like could go either way. But the first approach, the first kind of camp, would be from this perspective of I want to buy all the things, or I really want to break my no buy. The people who are really feeling that, the people who are like sick and tired of the rules, they're chafing against the restrictions, I got some tips for you. And I think that no buys can just be really hard around the midpoint of the year, you know, June, July. That was the toughest time of year for me because we're halfway through, and this is the point where it feels like a slog. It's like I've been doing this forever and I still have forever to go. You know, like the first 6 months feels long, and it's like I have to do this all over again essentially. And I just, you know, personally, when I was on my no buy in 2020, July was the month that like I low-key broke my no buy. So I have suggestions for you if you're here. The second approach is for the people who are literally bored of everything. Everything sucks, their makeup sucks, their clothes suck, like whatever kind of no buy you're on, everything sucks, you're bored of everything. And maybe you want to buy something new because you're just bored and makeup isn't fun anymore, or your collection or what you own isn't fun anymore either. So we're going to start there because I think the suggestions for this camp are just like a little bit more fun. I feel like one of the reasons why boredom can hit harder on a no buy is because previously, you know, pre-no buy, if you were bored, you could have bought something. I think a lot of people, myself included, have or had established a habit of bored, buy something new as the solution. So we create this habit of every time we're bored, we just buy something new. And that's a habit that we need to break, and is one that you can break in your no buy. And I think this is really the perfect opportunity to learn new habits and new skills, or like tools for your toolbox that you can put in place whenever you feel bored in the future. As well, boredom passes. Like you will not be bored forever. So if you're struggling with that right now, I think that's just something that's great to remember. Let's get into the tips. And the first thing I have for you today is gamification. And by the way, this gamification, there's like 6 sub-points. So if they all kind of blur together a little bit, I think they kind of might, I'll like, you know, have the more clarifying, you know, bullet point on the screen. And I think for a lot of people, not everybody, no buys can feel like punishments, or like we could hate them even more because like we financially can't afford to spend the way we were. So there isn't an option of going off the no buy or like indulging here and there. And then we can maybe resent our no buy because like we have to do it. So I think making your no buy or low buy fun is a perfect place to start. Your no buy should be fun wherever you can make it fun, and you don't need to suffer through it. I'm here to make your no buy fun. So I have a lot of gamification points coming up because I think that what is fun for somebody is like different for the next person. I personally, and this is like sub point one, I love inventorying and tracking things. I know there's like a lot of nerdy spreadsheet kind of people out there. And if you're somebody who hasn't inventoried or tracked stuff yet, or maybe you did and you like fell off, here's maybe your sign to start doing it again. I love a good makeup inventory, skincare, like a bathroom inventory. Love those. Clothing or wardrobe inventory. You could do everything or just by season. I've done this before, like both. Also, in terms of tracking, you can track your uses or your wears. If you don't have a capsule wardrobe, that's totally fine. One of the things that I love doing is like outfit logging, taking a photo every day. Like I have a big spreadsheet of all of the things that I own. I also have one that you can buy. It's like $2. It's very affordable. And it will help you track everything that you own as well as like the cost per wear, even if you don't really remember how much you paid for it, you can estimate. I did that for like almost a year straight. And I love doing that because I like combining those things together, like outfit logging with a photo, because just the fact I know like I'm going to take a photo this morning makes me tend to be a little bit more creative and let's say not wear pajamas all day or sweatpants all day. You could also do this with makeup looks and log your makeup looks every single day. That could just push us to be a little bit more creative. And I also think that if you're like a nerdy spreadsheet person, putting together a spreadsheet or a tracking sheet, even if it's not for makeup or fashion, could be for like dinners or meals, as well as maybe it could be like for reading or hobbies if you have them, or habits, like tracking and create like just the act of creating a spreadsheet of some kind on paper or on digital means. That was weird. And tracking habits, how many days you make your bed, or how many days you've done joyful movement, or how many days you've read, or how many hours that you've read. There's so many reading journals out there, people who've done it with reading, and if you're a reader, that's a great place to be. But also if you're somebody who has other hobbies, you could track anything. And I love putting together a good tracker. I remember, this is like a little side note, when I was in my comprehensive exams, like when I had to read like 200 books, I had like a tracker that I would color in all the time, and I made it and it was like in my bedroom and I loved it. There's so many things that we can track, and I think for a lot of people, the joy is like not just the tracking, but in the creative process of creating the tracker. So next up, we're gonna talk about challenges. I love a challenge, and the challenges are endless. And you could even like put these things together. So you could outfit log or outfit track for 30 days or 2 weeks, and that could be your challenge. And then do a reflection after. You could also do that for your makeup, like after like wear makeup every day for 2 weeks or a month, and reflect on that after. You could also have like panning as a challenge if you're not a panner, but you could also have goals of, like I see this on Instagram all the time, of people who want to hit pan in every single eyeshadow. And so you could set that up, and that would be like a long-term project. Or you could do like 1 month, one palette. One thing I have coming up in the future, it's like a bold lipstick week. And so challenges for me are the ultimate gamification. They just bring me so much joy. And one of my best challenges is low buy bingo. Now, low buy bingo, it's behind me. And the thing I love about this is that it's like gamification at its heart, like at its peak. This can easily be transformed into a no-buy bingo where you're playing for non-monetary rewards. If you're a busy person who has hobbies or things that you just love that you never make time for, you could play for like each token that you win for each bingo could be like 15 or 30 minutes for a specific hobby, but you could also play for other like really specific non-monetary rewards, like a mani-pedi night, or like for me specific, an Obi-Wan Kenobi binge evening or day, a 24-hour, 24 hours of reading, or like not maybe 24 hours, like a full day of reading where you're allowed to read whatever you want. Oh my God. that would be amazing. I've done like a pasta night. I freaking love pasta. And I do have like free templates if you want to do no buy bingo for yourself and set up any kind of reward system. Another great idea for gamification is ranking. After I ranked my blushes, I pulled out my Patrick Ta, which was at the bottom of the of the ranking, pulled it out and loved it. And now I have to deal with the embarrassment of ranking Patrick Ta at the bottom of my blush ranking video. Like, that's on the internet forever. I have no words for that. And then also after my palette ranking, I pulled out palettes that have just kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, and I love that. I think the active ranking is so much fun, but you can also glean information from the ranking process as well. Another thing that's, I guess, technically part of the challenges, but is totally worth a standalone point, is creating a capsule. Whether that's a makeup bag or a wardrobe, both of those are really, really great ideas. If you've never made a capsule wardrobe before, I think a 10 by 10 would be really perfect. A 10 by 10 wardrobe doesn't have to be perfect, and you're allowed to make mistakes and have things that don't work out. I think for me, it's the experimentation that is just so fun that I really love. And whenever I'm feeling bored of my wardrobe, which if you're on a no buy that includes wardrobe, that was the hardest thing for me, more so than makeup. And creating little mini capsules with themes was such an important experience for me that helped me keep the boredom at bay in terms of my clothing. And so you can just create, let's say, a summer capsule, but you could also create like a floral theme capsule or a colorful capsule, a neutral capsule, a no pants capsule. I have a French theme one that I'm looking into. It's like kind of the vibe today. I don't know. I'm experimenting with this top, you know, and like this feels like if this from the neck down, it feels very French, at least in my opinion. So there's lots of fun things you can do with the capsule. And if you're particularly having struggles with fashion, create a fashion playtime. Like, set aside an hour or half an hour, whatever time feels like a good amount to you, and just pick pieces that you haven't styled or worn, or maybe you're not sure how to wear, and just put them with everything. Like, if you have a shirt like this as an example, put it with every single pair of pants that you own, like every single bottom. That could just be one session in itself. And I do this from time to time, and I've always learned stuff, because there's always certain things I'm like, oh, that will never go with that pant, but then it does, and I never would have even tried it, because in my mind, but for me, that's fun. And like putting on some great music and taking pictures, like that's an afternoon in itself. The next thing I have for you is, I've had a lot of names for this. The passion project, the creative outlet, finding a hobby, I think is so, so, so important. In my opinion, the reason why the hobby hits so hard in the no buy is because for a lot of people, shopping was the hobby. And now you have all this extra time, maybe not extra time, but now you don't have it and you have this void. But also I think when you're bored and specific, I think that directing your attention elsewhere into doing other things is something that just helps enormously. So anything that can take your time or attention away from shopping or just the feelings that you have about boredom, I think just works. So even if the many projects or hobbies that you have are not fashion or beauty related, I think that's wonderful too. I've even done some pantry panning, especially before I moved, which was just really fun. And also doing like back of the freezer meals. I do that quite regularly, which was an effort to kind of put my mind elsewhere. Same thing with like in terms of challenges. I've done challenges where it's like creating a new meal this week or every week this month, and I've had some fun with that, but like I'm definitely not in that vibe every month. Anyways, to the passion project, I think that finding something that you love that makes you want to get up in the morning or come home at night helps, one, direct our attention elsewhere, but two, helps make us feel more fulfilled and happier in our lives. I mentioned this in a recent video, but it kind of breaks my heart where people just live to work and their lives are all about working and they don't have things for themselves or with their friends or their partners after work, we could be having so much more joy in our lives. And I think hobbies or creative outlets are that for a lot of people. And makeup, sure, it can be a great hobby, but there are so many things out there, like physical things like playing chess or fixing cars, kickboxing. But then there's also things like creative hobbies or hobbies that are about like logic or intellect. And if you're somebody who's like, I don't have a hobby, I think that's the most perfect place to be, because if you don't have a hobby, it's like you haven't opened the door yet. Like you're on the other side, you're on the door that's closed, and you haven't opened the door, and you're like, you haven't experienced that amazing feeling of finding that thing that you love, but you're about to, I love that so much. And it could even be a challenge to spend, let's say 2 weeks or a month, whatever time you have, to finding or just trying out all the kinds of hobbies out there, even ones that you thought you wouldn't like. If I could encourage you to do one thing in this video, I would say gamification, but if I had to pick one, try out some hobbies. Now, if you're somebody who is on a no-buy and going off the no-buy is not an option for you, I think maybe spending some time with the budget, if you don't have one in place already, could be a really great mindset shift. Like really trying out a budget for a month. And yes, okay, sure, you're not going to be able to buy makeup or things that are on your no-buy, but creating budget for things like your food or eating out or transit or gas, things like that, could also be a perspective shift for you. Well, in terms of you're not focusing on the things and being bored, but also like you're getting more in tune with your money and your finances. That could really help the mindset in like not wanting things. And if it's like, wow, I didn't realize I was spending $400 a month or $500 a month on food, that could really change your perspective of like, wow, I'm spending more on all these things than I realized. Like I really don't want to shop. Doing that for a month, if you haven't, I think it's a really great place to start. And whenever I'm like super into budgeting, it always makes me want to shop less. Now, if you're still feeling like, damn, my no-buy is not fun and it sucks, I really think that finding a community is a great thing to add, both in terms of like the no-buy community and communities for hobbies. On a related note, finding new channels and accounts that would support your goals and your habits that you're trying to create for yourself. So this could be spending an hour on a Sunday trying to find any no-buy channel out there, or it could be finding people who have similar hobbies or interests than you. For me, as an example, I do watch no-buy, low-buy conscious consumer content, which is really helpful, but I also watch booktube content. I'm more selective about the fashion content because watching that at just certain points makes me really want to shop. Even channels that aren't dedicated to that, and at other points, I can watch it no problem. But booktube, almost exclusively any time of the year, never makes me want to buy books because the library exists. And then I get to be part of this community of people who just love books and have that passion for them. I love being immersed in that community. And there's so many online communities as well, or even like Reddit forums or Facebook groups of people who have hobbies like you do. And if you're looking for makeup spaces, I think that Makeup Rehab on Reddit, the same with like the no-buy group on Reddit, great. I would stay away from Beauty Guru Chatter. Not a big fan of that one, but the other two could be really great spaces. Now let's chat about those of you who want to break your no-buy. And I think the very first thing that you could do is just have an old-fashioned declutter of your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok, whatever kind of socials you got that are making you want to buy stuff that are contributing to you, your spendy attitude or your spending mood and this kind of desire to shop, or the channels or pages that make you feel inadequate about yourself or what you have. And ultimately, I think that, you should be subscribed and open your life to people who are supporting your goals and ideals, and kick those, even brands, email lists, or like brands on Instagram or whatever, kick them to the curb. You don't need them. You don't need the content in your life that is not helping you with your goals and you living your best life. On a related note, I also think you could take this a step further and have an Instagram free week or YouTube free week or socials free week, or really just a free week of the things or the places that are just not good spaces for you right now. YouTube and Instagram aren't inherently negative places because they help connect us to people who support us. But I know, at least for me, there have been times where almost no matter what, even project panners, like watching project panning content or seeing that on Instagram, made me want to shop. So being on Instagram wasn't a good place. And I have been off Instagram for months at a time. I usually really love it. So if you haven't done that in a while or ever, I think that's a really, really solid place to start. Be off for a while and see how you feel. Maybe check in and do a little check-in on how you feel about it. I recently did a no socials after 8 p.m., but also Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever you would watch. And I intentionally created a space of boredom for myself, or a space that would facilitate boredom, because I wanted to know what I would do if I couldn't lean on any of the distractors. I think there's a difference between putting on a TV show you've been wanting to watch, that's one thing, but then also just having the habit of watching TV at night, even if you don't want to watch it. What spurred this on was hearing, or I guess more remembering, a conversation that I once heard. I don't know if it was from a parenting site or, just somebody in real life, but I was remembering this conversation that I heard about a parent talking about their kids. And what they were saying was that they want their kids to be bored, not all the time, but they want to make sure that their kids experience boredom because, one, they want to teach their kids what to do when they're bored, but also in boredom comes creativity and ingenuity. We tend to be our most creative when we're bored because we're not surrounded by noise and distractions. It's just usually our minds and nothing. And when we're there, sometimes we can find solutions to problems or think about new ideas that would never have come with all of that white noise of life behind us. When I did it, it was all just for a week, but it really helped me realize the things in my life that bring me the biggest joy, and they were things like reading and painting. Number 3, and I think this is my most used tactic, talk it out or journal it out with somebody, or just by yourself. I've also done this with voice notes, where if there's something I really want or I'm about to emotionally spend, I'll just talk it through with myself in voice notes. And if you don't have a friend who you can regularly talk to, journaling it out, why you want something, why is it on your mind, what about it do you like, why do you want it? Journaling out those feelings can just be super helpful. And I've provided 3 different ways because not everybody's a writer. Some people prefer speaking. If you're journaling or creating voice notes and you also have something to look back on, one of the reasons why I find this helpful is that it helps me get my thoughts out. But also, buying stuff is rarely about the thing itself. I've personally gone to shopping to fix perceived inadequacies or problems with myself, or buying into the promise of something, and I can typically suss that out when I'm journaling. But if it happens to not be that case and I just want something, being able to suss that out is also super beneficial, because either of those scenarios is not a good purchase in my book, and I don't want to purchase in either of those circumstances. And so I believe that articulating your thoughts, and specifically articulating your desires, often reduces their power, because when I'm thinking or I'm really coveting and wanting something, it can feel so overpowering and so strong, but also so real. And when I journal it out or talk through it with somebody, it really reduces that thing and really reminds me that this is just a thought that doesn't own me. It also helps me feel control. Reducing the desires down to a thought really helps me be in my power and remind me of my power, and that the choice is ultimately mine, which is kind of an empowering experience. Sometimes I just need reminders to myself. 1, you are enough as you are with the things that you have, and you will be okay without that thing. You have lived your entire life without this thing, and you were fine, and you will be fine after. The second reminder that I give to myself is that you have never regretted not buying a thing. Never. So this will pass. And the third one I was reminded of recently with my lusting over the overalls. And I thought that this thing was so perfect for me and so my style that it made me feel like if I didn't have them, my style wasn't complete or not good enough. Sometimes our minds can just tell us anything to try and convince us to buy the thing because buying the thing feels good. But one of the realizations I made or was reminded of a couple days later was that no thing will ever make me. I am enough already as I am, and no overall or lipstick will ever make me. I am already me. When something feels so you, like so your style, just so you, it can be hard to say no. Budget over everything. If you don't have the budget, it doesn't matter how much you love the thing. And on a related note to the journaling, if you're like really in need of something in this moment, writing down or creating a list of questions to ask yourself to vet your purchases can be really helpful too. Depending on what you're shopping for, you could be writing down things like, do I plan or do I think I'll finish this thing to completion? Do I have budget for this? How many times do I think I could wear this? And how long would it take me to get me to this wear? What might be the cost per use based on those wears? What might this thing look like once it's been used or like really heavily worn? One of you reminded me of that recently. And then also like making sure that you look to see if you already have dupes or similar things in your collection. One of the things has come to be a hallmark for me is that if I'm unwilling to check if I have similar things or like to take that picture into my makeup bag and compare, that typically means I just want that thing because I'm not actually interested in making this purchase the best that I can. So I know I'm shopping from a place of desire opposed to making a good choice. And creating that list, like you could do it, physically on paper or, in a notebook or, in a Word document or online somewhere. But I make this suggestion because sometimes just the act of creating the thing and writing it down is all you need, and you don't actually need the wish list. I mean, if you do and you use it, great, but I have done this at points and I've like rewritten and like made them art projects in a way, and that's just kind of been what I've needed. The very last thing is a tool that I use all the time, which is create a physical wish list or a digital wish list. If you've had one and it's kind of been left to languish, resurrect that baby. I have a pretty in-depth one that I use the most when I'm feeling really spendy and shoppy. It asks me questions like, how will I feel about this thing in 2 years? Is it a want, a need, a replacement? Having to answer if something is a want, need, or a replacement is one that I love asking about every single purchase, because I spent so long believing or convincing myself things I wanted were actually needs, and I had this twisted sense of what was a need or a want, and even a replacement. Just because a fancy skincare item is empty doesn't mean you need to replace it. And so that's helped me come to terms with dealing with my inaccurate and sometimes problematic views of purchases. I've also asked things like, does this support the life that I'm trying to create? I have so many questions that are in there that I have to answer before I buy the item. And then it filters down into a secondary list of things I haven't bought, and in essence, like all the money I've saved. I love doing that at a really spendy time, but what I think is an even extra bonus layer onto that is creating a specific time to reevaluate your desires. And this is the most helpful to me when I am right smack dab in the middle of really desperately wanting something. Usually one thing. If I'm like so desperate, I'm like literally wallet in hand, I'll be like, okay, wait 24 hours. But if I'm maybe not quite at that level of desperation, I'll say wait 3 days or 5 days. And almost always after just a little bit of time has passed, I can be reasonable and rational enough to say, okay, I don't need that thing. Like, I'm cool, I'm level-headed now. I really don't need that thing. This works for me because it's really hard for me to say no, because that feels like that's a forever no. But when it's a not now, it's just easier because you're like, yeah, I'm going to come back and I'm going to revisit this. And I have set a time and a place that I will. And so it makes it easier to put it on the back burner for the next little while. Now, those are all of the tips and suggestions I have for you today. If you have your own, I would really love to hear them in the comments below. And the very last thing I want to say is not so much a tip, but a comment. Over the last 6 months, I have spent a lot of time dedicated to figuring out how to be content with my life. And not just my life, but also the things in it. And what I realized is that the happier I am and the more content I am with myself as a person, the less I want to shop. And it really, really made it clear to me how much of my shopping was rooted in trying to fix myself. And also not shopping because I was unhappy or let's say sad or depressed, but a genuine belief that buying something will change my life or change who I am or make me better in some way. And the happier that I've been, the fewer thoughts I've had of like feeling shitty and then or inadequate in some way and then wanting to fix it. And then also as well using shopping less as an outlet for emotional spending. And I do recognize that some of us, myself included, need short-term solutions that we can use today. And for me, the biggest thing that has helped me mitigate shopping and ultimately boredom with my life are some of the strategies I've mentioned here, especially capsule wardrobing and also for makeup, creating little makeup bags. I love creating makeup bags for, seasonality or even trying products that I haven't used in a long time, or one that I'm going to be doing now is creating a makeup bag based on an artwork piece. Oh my God, that is something I just can't wait and just is so fun to me. That helps me with some of the boredom that comes about the wish list and some of the sayings that I've said to myself and the not now but later have really helped. But bigger than those, and so I really do think that we need short-term and long-term strategies. And for me, the long-term strategy that I've noticed significant difference in is figuring out how to be content in my personhood and in myself. And that has really dramatically shifted my desires and my shopping. And so for me, what I've found helpful is not to think in terms of how do I not buy stuff, but instead, how do I be content with what I have? Those are two different questions. And I think that how do I be content with what I have is, framing things in a more positive light that I think results in more action-oriented steps. And asking yourself, well, how do I be happy with what I have, can create some really creative solutions or really creative ideas to even just attempt. And even thinking through questions like, what does enough mean for me? Do I have enough? Do I not have enough? Do I have too much? How do I feel about what I have? And, asking some of those questions about why do I want this thing? Will I be happier or more content with it? Have just been some of the ways in for me to thinking about my contentment with stuff. And my minimalist makeup bag was the first step into contentment with stuff. And that could maybe be a first step in for you as well, if you're considering thinking about personal contentment. Thank you so much for watching, hanging out with me today. Again, Laura's channel is going to be linked in the description box. If you like this video and want to see more like it, I would love it if you would subscribe. I also have a buy me a coffee if you're interested in supporting the channel that way, as well as an Etsy store that you can check out and grab some of the templates that I've mentioned so far. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.